the to the other responsibles, from them to the headmaster, and it went like that. I mean, everyone in responsibility. If he lets veiled girls into the school, if a supervisor came and finds many veiled girls in the school, the headmaster would be expelled. And this is why he had not to let us wear hijab in the school. I mean, it was a whole policy in the country.
In Tunisia, if you wear hijab, you're treated like a criminal. You have to sneak. You have to be careful for police. Usually criminals are careful from police, but in Tunisia, girls wearing hijab, which is not a crime, but in Tunisia it's considered like terrorism. It's considered like a crime. It's everything you want. Probably after the downfall of Ben Ali, everyone discovered that he was actually the criminal, but he wasn't even. I mean, he was the president, and everyone Ben Ali. So. And the problem is that he's enhancing the idea of the Western countries about Islam, which is there is Islamophobia, and he's actually helping people to nourish this fear from Islam, especially tourists who come to Tunisia. And of course there are tourists who are very curious, and they would ask you a lot of questions, and then when they know that you are actually treated like a criminal, they would be themselves afraid, because if in your own country, and which is Muslim country, you are treated like a criminal, then how would they see you?
Yeah. And in the school, how many girls like you were wearing hijab and hiding about?
Yes, it changed over time. For example, in my 6 years before, and even for the generations before me, they would see 5 to 10, because there were real discrimination, real danger for them. So in the 90s, the peak of these events was in the 90s in general. There were like criminal attitudes towards veiled girls. It's not just veiled girls, I have to say. Even men, where the Muslim practitioners of men were discriminated against. For example, what you want to see, there were like always people giving reports on other people. So these people,
if you pray, for example,
yes, if you pray regularly, if you go to the al-Fajr, Salat al-Fajr, which is first thing in the morning, if you go to the mosque, the first day, the second, the third day will start to be followed. So practicing Islam in Tunis was something like a crime. You did not have the right to pray regularly in the mosque, not even to preach for Islam. This was a real crime, to preach for Islam.
You can say that you do your prayers. If they catch you praying, you will be.
If you say I'm a practicer and I'm doing.
Not.
So it's like confessing crime. You go to the mosque every morning, every day. It's like a crime. I mean, so the discrimination was not only on veiled girls, even on men. Muslim practitioners, men who pray regularly, they were regarded as criminals. After the fall of Ben Ali,
police station.
Yes, after the fall of Ben Ali, the police offices were opened, and people were in there, and they saw the papers. You would not believe the reports against the Muslims, against the veiled girls, against the men who would go regularly play. Even police officers, if police officer would pray regularly, he's
the suspect.
Yes, they would suspect it, and he would be followed, and even behind his back, we didn't know it, but people would go after him, follow him, to whom he's talking. Is he in relation with an Islamic group? So it was like something like.
Besides, he's not allowed to marry any girl wearing the hijab. No, he can't marry a girl.
Police officers are not permitted to wear.
The most discriminated.
Yeah.
What about your parents? When you decide to wear the hijab, what did he say?
My mom was scared for me. Because I was the first in my family to decide to wear the hijab. So my mom was not veiled. So when I said I want to wear the hijab, she was like, I wouldn't want to enforce you not to wear it. It's your freedom. But please be careful. Be careful not to use your career, your future, your study. So it was risky. It was a risky choice to decide to wear hijab. Was something very risky. So she was like, please be careful. Try not to get in confrontations with the police. Try not to invade them. And go, man. You're free. If you want to wear hijab, it's your freedom, and it's our duty as Muslims. So
that was my father's attitude. My mom, she was totally against wearing hijab. She was even threatening me to put me out of the house if I wear hijab.
Your father?
Yeah, my mother.
Your mother?
But she's not doing that because she's against hijab, but out of fear from Ben Ali's policies. That's why she was.
Why do you insist that?
I insist because it's my right. Because I believe in Islam, so I can't just believe in Islam and I can do what Islam asks me to do, right? I can't say that I'm Muslim while actually I'm just in the street. I'm looking just like any girl. I mean, who is not Muslim.
Yes.
I mean, Islam.
At what age did you start to wear? You have hijab?
Well, I had the audacity and the courage to wear hijab last year.
Last year?
Yeah, because I was really scared, but I came to the point that I have to either to fear God or to fear Ben Ali, who's just like a human being like me.
So you're very courageous, both.
Many other girls. I mean,
I was freaking out, but yeah, I was freaking out because after 2 months from wearing the hijab, I had to sign a commitment. And then I discovered that actually they're following me. I thought, everyone in Tunisia thinks of himself that a normal citizen who has no political engagement or any, but actually they would consider you if you put the hijab or you do your prayers, you're someone of threat to them. So,
but what it means to wear the hijab? It's respect to God,
respect
to whom?
So in Islam, it's respect to yourself. As a Muslim, this is how I see it. I mean, God wanted us women to wear the hijab first as respect to ourselves, to our bodies. I mean, the girl in Islam, she has to protect herself and her body. I mean, just like that. It's not the niqab is not something obligatory. It's not true where people they say that the woman in Islam has to cover her face. This is not Islam. In Islam, just like that, your hands and your face, and you work and you study, but it's a sign of honor to protect yourself and not to have only your husband. I mean, he's the first man to see your hair, he's the first man to see your body. So it's like in the idea of honor. You protect your honor for your husband, for the man you choose to marry.
Plus, if you like something so much, if you love something so much, and you think it's of huge importance, wouldn't you like to protect it? Of course, you would like to protect it. And so Islam, he wants to protect women, because honestly, even in science, away from Islam, a man who talks to a woman, if you're talking to a man, he wouldn't, if, for example, she's wearing like open clothes, I mean, he would concentrate with her 15 minutes, and then he would go the other way around. But if you're talking to a man and you're wearing hijab, you're making him listen to what you say because he has nothing to look at. You know what I mean? So you're diverting the man's attention to your brain, to what you have to say, to you. I mean, to you as a person, and not just to you as a body. Because
it's not true about saying that Islam, the woman is oppressed. It's the contrary, because when you protect your body and you wear in a particular manner, and you're still free to talk, still free to express yourself, to work, to study, to be something in society. So you will be considered not as a body, not as flesh, not as something pretty to look at, to touch, and then to let go. You'll be considered as a human being, someone who has a lot to offer other than his body. Because your body in Islam, you offer it to your husband, the one you choose, but not to everybody. So the other people, they would consider your thoughts, what you have to offer, but not just a body,